You are listening to the Sinister DreamCast Network.
Welcome to Sinister DreamCast.
I am Nick Kizina.
I'm Julianna Hawk.
Yeah, it's late. We know. It's a day late. Granted, if you aren't listening to this immediately, it doesn't make a difference to you. But yes, we know. It's a day late. We weren't able to get people together. So Julianna and I are going to take the reins, and we're just going to really just answer the questions for the most part. We're not going to do our typical 45-minute chat beforehand. Though we have a decent. We have 8 questions, not all from Nick Geiger.
Oh.
Yes. So, but real quick, I'll ask Jules, how are you doing?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yep.
All right.
How are you?
Oh, someone asked. No one ever asks how I'm doing. I'm fine. I'm glad that we're, getting this in the can. Because, you listeners deserve an episode every week. We won't have this problem next week. I'll tell you that much right now, because we already have, an abundance of people. So...
Yeah.
Though, I'll say that on the podcast, and then the next week there's not as many people actually showing up. So
that's fair, because humans are human.
Yeah, Stella agrees. So, yeah. So we're just gonna get right into it, because stuff and things. So, do you think we should do Mr. Garrett Teitelbaum's question first, or do you think we should save it for last? All right.
Who asked first?
Garrett, but I think Garrett's question should probably be saved to last. Now that I'm reading it. So, Garrett, if you're listening, just sit tight. You're the headliner, to use your parlance. You're the headliner of this.
That's just nice to see he's working.
Yes. I hope he's listening, because I think he'll get a kick out of that. So, all right. So, question numero uno from Mr. Nick Geiger again. Though this week, Nick Geiger's not the only one who contributed. Thank you again, Garrett. You can ask a question at any time by emailing us at ask@sinisterdream.com. Very, very simple. It is connected to my phone, so I will get it. I know whenever it's coming, and we will answer your question for you. Stella is telling you should do it too.
I'm sure Nick knows by now that this is not a slight, that we still love you.
Yes. But... Yeah, no, totally. I think every single time I say it, thank you, Nick, but, be nice to have more people, that's all. That's all I'm saying.
These episodes could be even longer.
I know. We're gonna try real hard to make sure we get you guys an hour. So, but here we go. All right, question number 1. What is the craziest, weirdest thing you have done to avoid facing your fear?
Oh, God, where to even start? Because I'm afraid of everything, and I will do really stupid things.
Like what?
Oh, fuck. I don't even, there's so many possible examples that literally nothing is coming to mind. You go first.
I mean, I don't have that, because, my biggest fear is, sharks. So, sharks being eaten / drowning, which is the reason why sharks are the antithesis of all of that put together. As Eddie Izzard said, they're fascist fish. They're the Donald Trump of the sea. Yeah, that was a good one, you have to say. That might be the title. No, yeah, because I don't think I've done anything super crazy to avoid my fear. It's pretty much just not going to the ocean, and I've gone to the ocean. So, that doesn't really, yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I have, stupid little fears, typical introvert stuff where I don't want to talk to people. But I don't really do anything, too super crazy to get out of that. I just kind of just don't do things. Just oh, well, I could, message this person that I'm supposed to, but I don't really feel like I can at the moment. So, Borderlands. That's kind of more or less what it... Or, Hitchcock movie or something like that. Stella is really wanting our attention because we were out all day, and now we're back and we're not paying attention to her. So apologies if you hear her in the background. But yeah, no, like that's not. I'm not an irrational person, so like it's hard for me to get super I guess maybe as a kid, if I've seen sharks, I've like closed my eyes as hard as I can and like maybe squealed and that kind of thing. I mean, there was back whenever, this isn't exactly answering the question, but it's a candid story, and I'm gonna bare my soul. Back whenever SeaWorld was in Cleveland, I went to SeaWorld with my uncle, and they used to have this thing called Pirates, which was one of the first 4D experiences. So for those of you at home that don't know what 4D is, it's whenever you watch a 3D movie, but then they shoot stuff at you so you feel like if you're flying in the air, they blow wind in your face. There's one down in Disney called Disney Philharmonic Magic. So like they go through all of the Disney, like a bunch of Disney movies. So like Be Our Guest, they pump like delicious food smells into the room, that kind of thing. But they had one there, and for some reason they had bats. And I don't know what it is. I was like 7th grade when this happened, so this is kind of embarrassing. I was in like 7th grade, and there's these bats, and for some reason their little teeth, like these 3D bats, these little teeth were just flipping me out. And I freaked the fuck out while sitting next to 2 attractive girls that were my age. So that was pretty fucking embarrassing. I don't know what it is to this day. I have no idea. When we went back, I went and watched it again, and it didn't bother me, but it was just something. It was like the confluence of a bunch of little things just like freaked me the fuck out, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it was like because I was at SeaWorld, there was like a chance of seeing sharks, which whenever I was little, that really kind of, that would like just the anticipation of witnessing a shark would fuck me up. I'm a little bit better with it. I still get a little tight, but I'm a lot better with it than I used to be. So you had time. I stalled for quite some time for you.
I mean, all that's really like coming to mind is like wearing sweaters in like 90-degree weather because I didn't want to get caught from the fresh marks on my arms, or one time I camped out in a McDonald's bathroom in the middle of downtown for like an hour because I'd stolen some shit and went off. And the buzzer went off. So I just ran like a bat out of hell, and that was all I could think to do, while like at the same time I was like taking every piece of evidence I could. Like this is back in the day of like VHS, so I was like ripping up like the covers, since they're basically made of like paper.
They were cardboard.
Yeah.
High stock cardboard.
Well, I was like ripping up like the VHS covers and like slowly flushing them down the toilet just to like try to get rid of any evidence at all while still holding on to the shit that I stole. That's all I can think of.
We lived in such different worlds.
Yes, we did.
If we have children, they're going to think Dad was very boring.
And they're gonna know that Mom was nuts.
See, it's one of those things like Dad is very boring, but Mom is so fucked up that we can't even find that interesting.
That's fair. I mean, at least I can say that my life has not been boring. That is definitely not a real thing.
All right, so number 2. What's the weirdest, most obscure trivia that you know? That's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is another, there's so much, nothing comes to mind, because, I mean, I do so much goddamn wiki walking that, like, I probably, like, I know that I'm, like, a treasure trove of, like, weird trivia nobody ever needs to know, because occasionally it does come up where it'll be like, hey, this thing, and I'll be like, hey, this, like, super specific fact about this thing that there's no reason why I know this. But I can think of nothing right now.
I know a lot of obscure Star Wars trivia. A lot of it doesn't count anymore because it's not canon. The one thing that is still canon that I tell people, and they always kind of look at me weird, is that the Rancor in Return of the Jedi is a baby Rancor. Because there's that, like, that's just a baby. I got made fun of in high school for knowing that. Yeah. I was like, well, go fuck yourself. I was just kind of, like, blown away by it. I'm like, really? Out of all the things I say, this is the thing you're picking on me about? So I know that. Like, another thing, like, Star Wars related was that, like, Han's pants. This is Legends universe stuff. Han's pants were actually Imperial officer pants because he used to be an Imperial officer. Because according to Legends canon, the way that him and Chewie met was that whenever the Empire was taking over Kashyyyk, they imprisoned a bunch of Wookiees, and Han freed Chewie because Han was he was an Imperial officer at the time, which I don't think is going to be canon anymore. I think they're going to stick with the fact that he's always been on the outskirts. I don't think they're going to do that kind of thing. There's also obscure one too, where like I just found this one out, but it's interesting to talk about that Mark Hamill was talking about in A New Hope. There was a scene that apparently Luke's original introduction was not him like coming out of the Lars homestead. It was him down at Tashi Station. And he was picking up power converters. And he ran into Biggs' Darklighter. And Biggs was saying, he was in his like Imperial pilot uniform. And he's like, "Oh, that's so awesome, Biggs," and all that kind of stuff. And Biggs then like took him to his side. He's like, "As soon as I can, I'm defecting to the rebellion." Like, and then Luke was like, "Oh, that's so cool." So like, Mark Hamill was like, "Yeah, this kid didn't really have any kind of. He wanted to go. He didn't care how he went. He just wanted to go, sort of thing." And like, he even said that like he played like. When he played Luke like that, he was just kind of like, yeah, he joined the rebellion because it was there, so he could get off of Tatooine. Which I'm kind of glad. Like, I understand why he wanted to keep the Tashi Station stuff, but I'm kind of glad they didn't, because apparently the way that the script originally was, it was Blockade Runner, C-3PO, and R2-D2 make it to Tatooine, cut to Luke at Tashi Station. He does his shit, cut back to C-3PO and R2-D2. But then I guess they completely cut it out, which I don't know why. No one's ever seen that footage. It's really sad.
Yeah.
What about you? Come on, you gotta have some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even like I wasn't even thinking like fandom stuff.
You can go fandom stuff. It doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, like, I mean, at this point, all like just the weird stuff I've retained is mostly Dragon Age stuff, and like we all already know that I'm a walking Dragon Age encyclopedia, like to a strange extent. Did you know that Chernobyl was actually not officially like entirely decommissioned until like 2000?
Yes.
Okay, well, like I'm just trying to think of shit, and like I don't know, it's weird. Like there should be. I mean, also don't prion diseases. Prion diseases are fucked up.
You might want to explain what prion diseases are for people.
They are prions. I it's very sciencey, so I don't understand the whole of it. But like it's effectively like a very specific protein mutation. Some of them are sporadic, some of them are hereditary. That's actually mad cow disease is a prion disease, so it's actually way more terrifying than you think it is. It just got hyped up so much that like people started making fun of it. It basically like changes the way that your brain is, like to the point where like it literally develops like sponge-like qualities to it. And they are all invariably fatal. Like one of them is called fatal familial insomnia. Like fatal is right in the fucking name. There are, I think, like 11 documented families in the history of ever who have it. If both of your parents have it, you have it, you're fucked, the end. And if one of your parents has it, it's a 50-50 chance straight off. But yeah, that's a fun one because basically once you develop it, you just get these awful symptoms, like a lot of pain, a lot of psychotic symptoms like dementia. And then you just stop sleeping completely. Like you literally completely stop sleeping. Like not even that like, oh, you only sleep like an hour or something like that. No, you just don't sleep and then you die. Creutzfeldt-Jakob is one that like you can actually get, that one can be sporadic. I think that one is also hereditary, but that it has most of the same effects. Like I think there is an insomniac component to that one, but it's not like you just completely stop sleeping until you die. But like a lot of like the hallucinations and dementia is present with that as well. Most of the ones that are hereditary like typically manifest anywhere between like your 20s to your 60s. And once you get one, like once it develops, you have anywhere between like a few weeks to a couple years left. There's almost no way to treat it at all, like even like in terms of like just making you comfortable. Like most medications that in any other circumstance would alleviate some of these symptoms, with those diseases, they either do nothing or make it worse. So you're just in absolute terrible agony until you die, which you will. There is nothing they can do.
Oh, that's fun.
I'm very, very fascinated by prion diseases. I don't know what this says about me as a person, but I just think they're like the most interesting things in the world. I am. There's also some of them that like they've been like developing blood tests for, so like you could find out, like, especially if it's like in your family history, you could find out if you will get it, which I imagine is then basically just like, so you can get your affairs in order because there's nothing they can do once it develops.
Brain transfer.
I mean, maybe someday, but...
Well, they keep saying that they're like, oh, we're really close to the singularity. Like, some people, Google, keep pushing the singularity up. As of right now, I think a good bit of people say the singularity is 2041. Do you know what I mean by the singularity?
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you at home that don't know what the singularity is, it's whenever... well, actually, there's two different singularities. Some people consider the singularity whenever we create conscious AI. And the other one is whenever human and machine become one. So there's two different things that people consider singularity, because I've heard two different versions of it.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I don't know about artificial intelligence. I'm kind of with what's his face about it, Elon Musk, where he's like, we're opening the demon, or we're playing with demons, or whatever, however he phrased it, or something like that. I kind of feel that way because it's unpredictable. Humans are unpredictable enough. Now we're going to create something that's equally unpredictable, but yet can process information 30 times faster than, or like, what is it? Probably by that time, like millions of times faster than we can.
At the end of the day, like in a very like roundabout, like explain your favorite thing in a shitty manner sort of way, that's kind of at its core what Mass Effect is about. It's just like the dangers of going down, like inventing AI. So
yeah, I mean, we'd have to make them some sort of like, we'd have to give them some sort of handicap, and God forbid if one of the robots figures out there's a handicap. So I don't know. I go with Musk on that one. I think Musk is right that we're playing with, because there's a lot of, I feel like the scientists that are really into AI and are at the forefront of artificial intelligence don't ask if we should do it. They just want to get their names in the history books as the people who did it, especially in Japan.
Like that quote from Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Yeah, no, pretty much is the exact same thing. Like, especially in Japan, like the Japanese are real on board with it. They're the ones that are creating more robot. Like, it's more socially acceptable for robots to be in like everyday culture. Not that it's like taboo here. It's just that we don't really have it. But in Japan, it's like they're kind of all for it. Japan's weird. They're weird because they have like that whole like, let's keep the tradition, but let's embrace the future at the same time. It's weird. It creates a very, very weird culture. Not bad, just odd. All right, so number 3. What's something you think everyone should own? Go ahead, say Dragon Age, Jules.
I wasn't going to. I mean, that's not incorrect, but...
I'm trying to think. Like, my mind immediately goes to Star Wars, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to do Dragon Age, you
Yeah.
know? Like, the internet?
Nah, you don't really own that. You more or less rent it.
Okay, well, like a computer, I guess, like an internet-capable machine.
Yeah, I would go with that at this point. Like, I feel like everyone should own that kind of shit.
Yeah. Especially because, like, even though my mom has a smartphone now, she doesn't really know how to use it for the internet. And so, like, things get very, very frustrating with her because effectively she doesn't own the internet.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's kind of like that article I was telling you about how we're moving into the true 21st century culture, and that is true. Like, I do feel like everyone should own some sort of internet capable device on them at all times. Like, I know there's a lot of people that are just like, oh, but it's taking away our humanity and blah blah. I'm like, no, it isn't. It really isn't.
honestly, I feel the exact opposite. I think if anything, it's encouraging it. Like, it's bringing more people together. Like, I hate those fucking memes that are like, like pictures of, like, kids played in the dirt and then a bunch of pictures of kids like, just sitting in front of their phones. It's like, like and share if you grew up, if you're glad you grew up doing this instead of this. And I eventually did just have to post a rebuttal to that. Like, no, I am old enough to be the kids playing in the dirt, and I'm not glad for that. I would much rather have grown up with, the internet in my pocket.
Yes and no. I think there needs to be balance to it. I don't think children should be as connected as they are, just because we're kind of seeing that with like the Generation Y kids, which is what they're calling, like, I think the kids that were born post 2000.
Generation Z
or whatever. Yeah. That they're having trouble interacting with other human beings, which I feel like that is a skill that you need to have. But like, it's also not a hard balance. Like, it could just be simply you just limit how much time the kid's on the device. Like,
that still just seems really weird to me, though, that like that would be what's happening. Like, I'm not doubting that you've seen that, but it just feels very like counterintuitive to me.
How so?
Because like, we're connecting with people we never would have been able to connect with, and I mean, like, we
But
have
you still
video
have-
chat, and
But you still have that security of a screen in front of you. Like, that does make a difference.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, very much so. Very, very much so. Trolls.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know. I guess also just like, as someone who has always had a lot of online friends, like ever since that's been a thing you could do. And I mean, for a lot of my life, I had more internet friends than real life friends. Like, I just feel like it does so much more good than harm.
Right, but that's for you. Like, you're a unique case. We can't really use you as a control in any experiment.
Okay, that's fair. But I mean, it's not like I haven't seen other people
Right.
with similar.
No, and I understand that, but I feel like you should give. It's one of those things that, like, you shouldn't just assume all children have some sort of spectrum thing. Like, have them interact with other human beings. If they're bad at it, then throw a device in their hand. Then that might help them connect, because there's plenty of autistic children that's how they connect. Like, there's the one kid. I think it was like this time last year, there was an article about I think it's a kid with Asperger's that his something happened and his iPad broke, and like, that's how he learned to interact with human beings. And then then that's when they went to the Apple store, and then they brought him the iPad, and then the Mac, the Apple employee spent like 45 minutes showing him how to use his new iPad and stuff like that. No, my thing is, from like baby until like first grade-ish, you should probably try to have them interact with kids. If you're seeing that it's not happening, then throw a device in their hand, see if that helps them, and then go from there. But like, I do think you should start baseline, like, just interact with other kids.
I see. Like, I wasn't even thinking of it as like a one or the other thing, or like I was just thinking of it more in terms of like, it just opens way more doors. Like, there are people that, because of the internet, we can interact with and be friends with, that live in completely different places who we'd never know existed, were it not for the fact that it's a whole new wide open social experience that like is just incredible.
Right. Again, you're putting yourself into it too much. I'm just saying that like that's what's working for you. There are some people that would benefit from being able to talk to human beings. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're running into problems with kids who are not like, who are coming into, for lack of a better term, the real world, that are having trouble interacting with humans just because they're not used to interacting with humans. It works for you, but your brain's unique.
Oh, see, I think you should have both. Like, that's what I'm going for, is that it should be both. Like, I'm not saying like this one is. I mean, okay, I guess in my opinion, still one is inherently better, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is just that, like, the whole world is open now instead of just this circle that
Right.
of people who live near you.
Right, I wasn't talking about that, so that's
Oh, that's what I
confused.
was talking about.
No, I was saying that you just need to temper it. You need to have balance. I do, like, I mean, I'm saying that, like, people should have devices. We are living in a 21st century. We are starting to live in a true 21st century civilization, and how we're going to live in that civilization is through the internet and through connectivity and all that kind of stuff. I'm not super pumped about the cyborgs, not going to lie, but, like, that's just how it's going to be. So, like, everyone should have it. It should be one of those things. I mean, it might get to the point where, I mean, it's already happening now where, like, you know, welfare will give you a phone if you need a phone, but it's not like a smartphone. It's just, you know, a phone. So, oh shit, I'm in trouble. An oh shit phone.
Yeah.
Which honestly, if you're going to take away all of the fucking payphones, then you probably should be providing people with an oh shit phone.
Yeah. Which is also a far better nickname for it than the one that they actually, than the nickname that that actually stuck.
What?
Obama phone.
Oh.
Yeah, that's actually what people call them because people are garbage.
I just call it a no shit phone.
I think that's way better because that's really that's what it's intended to be.
Yeah. But no, I do think everyone should have some sort of internet capable device. But yeah, I just think we need to get better at introducing children to technology. Because there are super benefits, like, you know, the video game, the movie, they were talking about this. There's a video from CMU where it's this 6-year-old girl explaining trebuchets because she saw it in a video game. And, like, she's explaining trebuchets, like, very, very well. I guarantee there are people that if I go, like, outside and ask them what a trebuchet is and they're, like, 50, they won't know what a fucking trebuchet is.
Yeah.
So, like, I also just like saying trebuchet. So, like, yeah, no, there's benefits. I just think we need to get better at it. That's all.
I'm sure the longer it's around, the better that will.
Yeah, I mean, because you also have the problem where you have, like, Gen Xers and baby boomers, some Gen Xers and baby boomers who just think there's nothing good about it. So that creates problems. You know, like the whole, I really hate the people like, oh, everyone's just looking down at their phone and blah, blah, blah. Don't get me wrong. Whenever you're around other friends, I do think you should not be talking, like, being on your phone all the time. You should be talking to them, because I do feel like you're kind of missing out. But at the same time, like, that video, there's a picture of a meme where it's like everyone's on the subway looking at their phones or their device, and then they're like, oh, you know, this is keeping us so far away from each other. And then there's another picture from the 1930s on a subway or a trolley or something like that, and all the men in the picture are looking at a newspaper.
Yeah, I also that's one I see a lot too that always makes me smile, that it's just like, you know, people, you know, stayed in reading books or listening to the radio and then watching television. Like, people have been coming up with ways to avoid talking to other human beings for as long as there have been buildings. So I also like, there's another rebuttal meme to that I like too, that it's like, you know, if, you know, it's the people all sitting there and staring at their devices, and it's like, if you think that this is taking away, then you're missing the whole story. And then it'll, like, do, like, you know, from the other side of what's on the devices, and it's people interacting with other people through their devices. So
Yeah, no, I just think we need to get better at it. That's all. I just think we need to get better, because, like I said, that's where the fucking baby boomers and some of the Gen Xers come in, and there's those generations in general just think that the way to fix things is to completely get rid of them. I don't understand that mentality whatsoever. Like, nothing has ever been fixed by getting rid of it completely.
baby boomers are just such dicks about technology. Like all those like fucking like political cartoons too about like, you know, little kids with like, you know, books made of paper, you know, the ones that we all still fucking use. And it's like, how do you turn it on? And it's like they're so far up their own asses that like they have to completely convince themselves that because they don't know how to use an e-reader that it has to work both ways.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't, for the record, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why an e-reader is any less. I mean, honestly, it's probably in the grand. Don't get me wrong, I love books. Books are great. I don't think we should ever completely get rid of books because I'm a big proponent of not having digital copies of everything. There should also be hard copies of shit. But honestly, e-readers and iPads and stuff like that they kind of tear down walls because, like, especially in colleges. I mean, how many people do you know buy an iPad, like spend the $700 on an iPad and end up saving a shit ton of money on textbooks just because, like, you know what I mean? Like, the textbooks that you have to buy in college are fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, you can buy an iPad, and if you have it for 2 semesters, then you it paid for itself. Like, after that, basically. And then there's also the thing, like, I do agree that, like, archives and stuff are important, and, like, I do still enjoy the feel of, like, a paper book in my hands, but, like, so I don't know if I actually do go with the original ideal of eventually going into a paperless society, but paper usage is far down since all of these things have become more commonplace, which is less waste, less, like, this is better for the environment. Like, there's still a lot of positives to come out of that.
I think some things need to be paperless. Bills?
Yes.
Paperless. There's no reason for bills to be any kind of paper. I think almost everything should be paperless. I just think everything should be also backed up with paper documentation. That's all. Or some sort of something a little bit more solid than a cloud or a network or something like that. Because if someone can hack, you know what I mean? If someone hacks that, then you're fucked. So, like, that's what my thing is. It goes back to the same thing that I was saying earlier about payphones. Like, I say, you can confirm this, Jules. I say this all the time. Can we please bring back some payphones? Because this seems like a really bad idea to get rid of all the payphones.
Yeah, I mean, definitely get rid of some of them because they are largely obsolete. However, if you don't have your own oh shit phone in your pocket and you need an oh shit phone at the time, like, I feel like that's what payphones are for. Like, if you really are, like, in a pinch and your phone is dead and you really need to get a hold of somebody, like, it would be nice if they showed up every once in a while still. Like, I know they won't get used very much, but when you need them, you're gonna, like, I feel like that could still be, like, there could still be a situation where somebody will see a payphone and go, oh, thank God.
Or even just an emergency phone.
Yeah.
Like they had, like the TARDIS. The TARDIS is based off of a police box. Like, why don't we have more of those? And you can also even just have, like, how they did with in England. How they replaced, like, the stereotypical phone boxes. They still have them. They're just charging station now.
Oh, that's really cool.
And Wi-Fi hotspots.
Nice. That's awesome. So, like, that's also a really good idea. So then if you're in a pinch and your phone is dead, you can just run into one of those.
Yeah. And call something. But, like, something like that. Even like I said, like, we could bring back police boxes. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a bad idea. That way it's something like, I'm okay with my taxes going to that, because if that saves someone's life, then it's worth whatever amount of tax I paid for it. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's our answer. All right, so number 4. What's something, if someone does it, you write them off immediately as a friend and person? I know something that Jules would say. If they believe that Anders wasn't justified.
I mean, I can't even say that because I have, like, continuously interacted with people after we have thought about Anders. I do view them differently because of it.
Well, that answers the question.
Okay, that's fair. Also, I mean, also pretty much anything social justice related. Like, there are definitely, like, okay, there are a lot of things that you can feel about social justice that even if I don't, because, I'm terrified of confrontation and all things. So even if I don't completely write you off for it, I look at you completely differently as a person than I did before this came up.
Like what?
I mean, in racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, like, but any just core, like,
LGBT phobia.
Yeah, anything like that. Just, I mean, basically, yeah, any, like, social justice or political stance, because, like, these are not things that exist in bubbles. Like, these are things, like, where your opinions, even just your opinions, do actually actively affect people's lives. So, like, yeah, they should change how you feel about a person.
What else?
I think that's the biggest thing. Which I guess probably also then kind of goes into the Anders thing because there's so many parallels between that universe and real. But
I had something because I just recently. There's like a couple things.
Oh,
What?
and how you talk to like anybody in a service industry.
Yeah, that's true too.
Anybody at all, like how you treat them. Like I almost don't care what they did. So almost, but you know.
I had something because I just was talking about this, or I was either talking about it or it was in my head. There are certain things that like if people do that I'm just like, I don't really want to be around you anymore. One of them I think is at this point, if you adamantly say that Star Wars Episode 7 is just a rewrite of Episode 4. That tells me a lot about a person. Just because, okay, I know this doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but to me, it is a little bit, as someone who's super into story, it's a big deal to me. That you took away the fact that, like, you probably enjoyed this movie when you first saw it, and now you're just letting the group mentality influence you. So, like, that kind of stuff bothers me. Anytime someone says something that's very common in regards to some sort of film or something like that, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yeah?
Yeah. Especially if it's not a well thought out thing. Like the example being, like, the Episode 7 thing, where it's just like, okay, now I need to explain this to you. Because I've got, like, people at work have gotten in the habit. No, a lot of people at work know that I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and they know that I look at Star Wars a lot differently than most other people. So people will come to me all the time with, like, questions and shit like that. And a lot of times they don't like my answers. And I'm not shitty about it. I'm not shitty about it at all. But a lot of times they don't like, some people will bring it up and, like, bring up this Episode 7 thing, and I'll explain to them why, and I'll explain, like, it's symmetry, it's, you know, literary symmetry or cinematic symmetry in this situation. With Episode 4, we also don't know what Episode 8 and 9 are going to be, so it all might make sense, and then they get kind of confrontational with me and be like, yeah, but, and then I'll usually give them my shtick about how plot doesn't matter, character matters, and then still they will argue with me, and then I usually end it. But yeah, that kind of stuff. Also, if you're shitty to someone for not seeing something, I also will judge you as a human being. If someone says, I've never seen Firefly, and you go, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Then I don't want to be around you. I try to make it a point not to, after Whovians did that to me quite a bit. So that kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't judge people as harshly for the social justice-y stuff yet. I like to get to know them first before I judge them for that. Because it might just be ignorance.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've said that before, too, that, like, you know, like, there are some things where, like, you may just genuinely not know any better. So, like, if you say a thing that's problematic and then it's explained to you why that's problematic and you don't change it or you react negatively to that, then this is over. Like, no. Like...
No, I usually give people the benefit of the doubt to a point.
Yeah, like, I mean, but I will try to, like, you know, it's like I will try to call out other white people for saying racist things because that's, you know, that's a very important thing to do. And, you know, I understand that, you know, growing up white, you are surrounded by white privilege and you are inherently racist, whether you want to be or not. And it's going to take probably several generations to unlearn that, but we have to start now. But so, you know, if another white person says something that is racist and I know that it is racist, I will not just assume that you're being an asshole. I will come at you from a place of, you know, from a place of understanding that you might not know that what you just said was racist.
Just a heads up, you don't really come like that sometimes. Sometimes you come off really mean.
I mean, also, to be fair, sometimes you have to repeat the same things like 12 times, but like...
But that's our burden.
I mean, to, like, the same person. But...
Yeah, well, I mean, those people, you can't, there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah, but, you know, I will still try, I mean, and I also, I mean, I know that I have issues with like my own tone and stuff that like I do try to work on, but like I do still try to come out like, you know, this is why what you said was racist, not just you are automatically a racist and a bad person because you said that because you may not have known. But then again, like if I say that, you know, what you just said was racist and then you come back at me in a negative way, then you're racist. So.
Not necessarily. Because we are living in a society. I've been thinking about this. We are living in a society where we were raised with the protests in Selma and whatnot as that is racism. So whenever you tell people that they're being racist on a macro level and not being violent, I understand why they respond with, no, I'm not. Because we were raised, at least I was in school, that is racism. That you're not as long as you're not harming people, they don't see it as racism. So I can understand why they retort that way. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, I do, but it doesn't really change it, I guess. Like, because it's still like it's still harmful, and if you can't, you know,
right. But that's the duty is to explain to them that that's not the case. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
right? And I
right. But you were saying that like if you tell them they're being racist, especially on like a micro level, and they respond with "No, I'm not," you might just need to give them time. That's what I'm saying. Change is small and slow. Progress is always small and slow. Now, if you come back to that same person in a year and a half, and you have the exact same conversation, and they say the exact same thing, then yes, they're being racist.
And that does happen a lot.
Yeah. But if we want to make progress with racism and sexism and stuff like that, though sexism I don't have as much tolerance with because I feel like sexism is a little bit more like, duh. But like sexism just seems like very black and white to me, I guess you would say. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, yes, I do, but they all come off that way to me. So.
Right. But I'm just saying, if we want to make progress, we have to be understanding and as Jim Jeffries would say, we have to go as fast as the slowest person in society, sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, there's some people in society that's not going to happen with, but we still got to be patient with the ones that just don't know. That's what I'm saying. You understand?
Yeah.
See, that tone doesn't make me feel good. What?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, if we want to make progress, it has to be done at a person at a time. Like, plain and simple. But change happening all at once never turns out well because people always feel like they're being left behind. And then whenever they feel like they're left behind, they feel like they're being left out, and they feel like they're being left out, so that leads to fear leads to anger leads to, like, no, I mean, it's true. Like, whenever you make people, when people start feeling left out, they start to fear that they're getting left behind. That fear does lead to anger, and the anger then leads to hate, and the hate does lead to suffering. And that's kind of where we're at. So, like, you gotta be patient with people. I'm not saying, like, obscenely patient. I'm just saying that, like, don't flip out. This is a general don't flip out on someone whenever they say something that is especially micro-racist, that they don't realize is racist just because of white privilege. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like I said, it's like then once you present like the opportunity for education, if they react in a shitty way, then that's...
Yeah, but that might just be a knee-jerk reaction. That doesn't necessarily mean that they won't change eventually. That's what I'm saying. Some people take time having things rewired in their heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying be patient, be loving. That's all. All right. Next question. Okay. Number 5. What's your preferred get-to-know-you question for someone you've just met? Do you like Star Wars?
I was going to say, what kind of music are you into?
That one I don't use as much as I used to. Jokingly, you could say Han shot first.
Mm.
A lot of them are Star Wars based. Man, I need to get more of a personality, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking of it the same way, because like, I mean, like, because my special interests get so. I recently realized that, like, the fact that like my special interests like consume my entire being the way that they do is okay. Well, I first of all realized that's very clearly an autistic trait. And secondly, I realized that means basically being autistic has saved my life on multiple occasions. Because if my special interests didn't completely consume my entire being the way that they do, like, they wouldn't keep the demons at bay so well. But then that gets really hard whenever, like, so in a non-autistic way, Star Wars would be a special interest for you. So, like, but I kind of have to try to, like, think of it outside that bubble for myself, because my special interests get so much that I can't, like, Star Wars is very, like, all-encompassing. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't just go in, like, do you like Dragon Age? No? Okay, we're not friends. Like...
I could actually make a questionnaire out of it. Like, do you like Star Wars? Who's your favorite Doctor? What house are you?
What house are you is a good one.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that... I mean, I guess it's a good way to get to know a person right off the bat.
Well, that is the question.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
BB-8 or R2?
That's too hard. That's not a good question because it's too hard.
No, it isn't. You could just say yes. That's
acceptable. Okay. That's fair. What I mean, like, what I feel like, what kind of music are you into is at least a good starting point. Like, it might not tell you as much about the person as you think it will going in, but it's still a good place to start.
Honestly, I don't think it does anymore because of streaming services. I think that kind of doesn't say as much about a person as it used to, just because now you can just try shit.
That's true. And, like, even if it's not like your thing, if you like this thing, then
yeah. I mean, it's happened with me. I've tried stuff. Granted, some of the stuff has turned out. That's the great thing about having music. I can download something and go, well, this is shit, and then delete it. But yeah, I guess that would probably be my nerd questionnaire. Favorite movie? I also am very curious about your favorite movie.
I mean, if I know going in that you like Dragon Age, I will immediately ask you, what your opinion of Anders and your opinion on mages. But...
Actually, you could probably just make a simple questionnaire based off of, like, favorite video game, favorite movie, favorite TV show. You could ask them what house they are, Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. Yeah, do you like Star Wars? You could also ask them Jedi or Sith. Would probably work too. Really, anything that's like nerd tribalism, that's a good way of finding out. Because that's something that I've noticed a lot, and it's always been kind of obvious, but it's become a little bit more obvious. The things that are very popular lately have very strong ties to nerd tribalism. There are some sort of group or society or something in them that people identify with, and they take that to heart.
Do you like cats?
Yeah. Though cats are a little hard, because there are a lot of people who do like cats but don't like cats, like Jim, where he likes cats but cats will kill him, like, literally.
That's fair.
Because cat allergies are very common, and they run the gamut. Either they have it like you, where, like, you will eventually get used to the cat, or Jim, where you could literally die if you're around a cat too long.
I have noticed that the people who don't like cats, that because of allergies, like, if, you ask them, do you like cats, and they say no, and you kind of look at them, they'll go, I'm allergic.
Yeah.
Like, they'll amend it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like, though, if it's just, like, a hard no.
Yeah. Like Justin.
Of course, then, I get those same looks when people hear that I don't like dogs, which I understand, but,
I don't. Dogs are like children. I like visiting with them, but I'd rather give them back.
I'm getting to a point of growth and maturity in my life now where I can find dogs cute on an aesthetic level from time to time. but I still don't want to be around them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're I mean, I say this as the person with, like, the neediest cat in the world. They're very, very needy. They're very high maintenance, and, like, the big ones still freak me out.
Mm-hmm. It's fair. It's fair.
And there was a point in my life where I had spent a lot of time around dogs and was very, very miserable the whole time. So it's taken me a very long time to even be able to, like, see a dog and go, that one's cute. So...
I have one for you, Jules. Favorite era of Bowie.
Yes.
But you could no.
That's true.
You
That's
could ask
true.
someone their favorite era of Bowie. And you can learn a lot. That does learn a lot about because you can learn when they started listening to Bowie. Like if it's like 70 era Bowie, they probably started listening to them when they were teenagers around our age. Excuse me, that was weird. I don't know if you guys picked that up, but there was like a weird like gurgly burp, so I apologize.
I feel also in general too, like if you know that you like the same, band or musician, finding out what the other person's favorite album is could be a good one. Yeah.
Though I have met people who don't like the same things as I do, but don't like them the right way. Yeah, that's a real pretentious thing to say, but I thought it was also kind of funny. There are people that I'm just like, you did not get the same thing out of this as I did. That's unfortunate. Actually, that's a lot with Star Wars. A lot of because Joe and I have talked about this on Insert Movie Reference. There are pretty much 4 generations of Star Wars fans. But one of the generations... Well, yeah, there are 4 generations, but 2 of the generations are still considered Generation 1. So you got Generation 1A, which are the people who saw Star Wars in theaters. Saw all of them, or the majority of them, in theaters. Then you got Generation 1B, which is us. We saw Star Wars on TV... we were around for the special edition, all that kind of stuff. Then you have Generation 2, which are the prequel generation. And then you have Generation 3, which is the newest generation that's happening right now, which are being introduced through like the TV shows and the new trilogy. So, Generation 1, there's a big split. Because the 1Bs like us, we see it differently than the 1As. The 1As there's a very elitism to them. They're usually the ones that still have not gotten over the prequels, even though it's like 20 years at this point. And like
that's so weird.
Yeah. It's almost 20 years.
Oh God, we're old.
18 years.
We're so old.
18 years in May.
Oh my God.
Is episode 1. Get the fuck over it. Yes, they're not great. They're not horrible, though. They are nowhere near as bad as you say they are. Episode 2 is pretty bad, though. Don't get me wrong. Episode 2 is close. It's close to where you had, but it's not that bad. So, honestly, I think a lot of it is that a lot of the people who really hate the prequels haven't watched them in a while, so now they're, like, built up to be these horrible fucking things. That's the reason why I kicked around the idea of putting it on the pop analysis schedule, but then I eventually did put it in because majority of the people in the company have not watched them in a very long time, and I think you've all built them up to be these really, really, really horrible things when they're just horrible things.
I'm just bitter and hold grudges.
Let go. Let fucking go. All right. Next question. Number 6. What movie/TV show out there is not needed? Does not need a remake. Anything that the original still holds up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like Logan's Run. I understand why they're remaking Logan's Run because it was just dated. The concept was too high for the time. Like, it just didn't match up. But, like, most other things, they don't really need to remake. Like, they're remaking Valley Girl, but they're remaking Valley Girl as a musical. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we doing that? I think it will probably be pretty good. I don't really understand the Exorcist TV show. I think that's kind of weird. But yeah, like most things I don't feel like need to be remade. There are a few things that do need to remake. Stuff that is very of the time needs to be remade. Like if they decided to remake White Christmas that has like the super racist song where the black people refer to themselves as darkies. If they wanted to remake that, that's probably cool. It's probably a good idea. It doesn't take away the original. The original is still considered, outside of the super racist song, considered one of the greatest holiday films of all times. But like it doesn't really take away from it. I'm glad to see no one's really touching Hitchcock. For the most part, like they did that, and when they do touch Hitchcock, we kind of just forget about it. Because
didn't they remake Rear Window?
They've remade Rear Window twice for TV movies only. They remade it once in the 70s, and then they remade it once in the 90s with Christopher Reeve. They just updated it a little bit. Instead of the guy having his broken leg, he's a paraplegic. So that's how they changed that. They also tried to do a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho with Vince Vaughn. That was Gus Van Sant. Everyone kind of forgets about that.
Yeah, I didn't. If I did know that existed, it was so far gone that I currently feel like I didn't know that existed.
I mean, for the most part, Hitchcock shit holds up. There's some stuff that doesn't hold up. Like North by Northwest, I love that movie, but the pacing in that movie is very 1950s. It gets a little tough to watch at times. You're just like, okay, can we move along? But for the most part, like his really classic movies don't need it. Like Rope is ahead of its time with the pacing. The pacing is fucking lightning quick for 1940s. I mean, it's just as quick as like as Episode 4. And Episode 4 looks a little slow to nowadays, but that was considered like, I don't know if people can handle this in 1977. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff that like doesn't need to be remade. They really need to stop going to the well so much. I mean, I'm a little bit more cool with them like remaking failed movies into TV shows, because I feel like that's them realizing as storytellers that like, yeah, this story would have been better if we had more time. Like this was just restricted by the medium that we have. You know what I mean? Like that's essentially the problem with that's mostly the problem of movies at this point. Like people don't want to sit in a movie theater for more than 2.5 hours. And 2.5 hours a lot of times is a little long. Yeah. I mean, how many times have we not gone and seen a movie just because it's like that's our day?
Yeah.
Just because it's like a 3-hour chunk. So, what about you?
I mean, I guess I agree. Like, I don't know. I like nothing like particular, like this specific title shouldn't be remade. Like nothing like that comes to mind. But yeah, so I guess in general, like as long as like it holds up and like it's not like time hasn't made it offensive sort of thing, then leave it alone.
Yeah. I'm kind of meh about them remaking Turtles just because of how they remade Turtles. That kind of bothers me. Just because it's not, I don't feel like it was made with love. You know what I mean? Like that bothers me. And like certain kids things, I understand. They're like Smurfs. I understand why they made Smurfs movies. Kids are going to have trouble watching those older cartoons. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of kids that would sit down and enjoy the shit out of like an original Smurfs cartoon. But there's also a lot of other kids that it's kind of hard because like, if I remember correctly, the original Smurfs cartoon was animated on a budget, so it's not 24 frames per second. It's a lot slower, and it's a lot of remade animation. Nowadays, because of computers, even the stuff that's 2D, they'll still keyframe it and then put it in computers to do it quickly. So you don't have, like, it's much more fluid animation without having to spend a lot of time on it, sort of thing. So I feel like a lot of kids nowadays would probably have trouble with dealing with that kind of shit, you know?
That's fair, yeah.
But no, I understand why they reboot any kid stuff. Sometimes they reboot kid stuff way too quickly. Like, it's way too much of a cash grab. Like, though I didn't want to go see it, again, the Smurfs, I understood why they remade the Smurfs. Like, that completely makes sense to me. Same thing with that Yogi Bear movie. Totally understand why they remade Yogi Bear. But, like, I feel like there's other stuff that, like, Turtles, I don't really think Turtles need to be remade in a movie. They were pretty cool with, like... Because the Turtles have been remade a lot. Because you have like the original comic book, then it translated into the retro cartoon show, then it went into the Foxbox cartoon show, and then they have the Nickelodeon cartoon show, and now they have the cinematic version, which is like just weird. It's weird and like a little creepy because Michelangelo hits on April way too much, and it's always, and Michelangelo's always hit on April, but it's always been like kind of cute, but like in this show, no. In the movie, not so much. It feels weird. Also, the turtles are bulletproof, and Splinter has a prehensile tail.
Okay.
Yeah. It's weird.
Sounds weird.
It is. There is also a line in the first Ninja Turtles movie, the new one, where Shredder says, "Bleed all their blood out until they're dead."
That is that is some beautifully crafted poetry right there.
Yeah. It's also redundant as fuck. But so yeah, I think that answers. You got any more?
No, I think that's I think that's really what it comes down to. Like, if it still holds up, it's just in terms of like how it looks, how it was made, and again, like I even understand like stuff that like holds up like from a technical standpoint, but like now, like as society has progressed, you look back and go, "Oh, that's not okay." Like, remake that.
I'm in those situations. I don't think you should remake, just update. I'm a big proponent of updating shit. Like, not remaking it. Let's just take it, put it in digital, like updating it, make the sound better, maybe update some of the effects, just make them look more modern. Like they probably should be doing with the special edition, because Jabba looks like shit in episode 4.
No, I meant like in terms of like, this has a good story, good concept, but because of the time that it was made, there's a lot of sexist jokes in here, sort of thing. Like, I feel like I'm okay with those stories being updated, and if that requires a remake, I'm okay with that. But
I just heard updated. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Because you're a woman and I shouldn't be listening to you. You're welcome, everyone. I'll be here all night. All right. What's a word? You're not going to have anything to say for this, because this is about love of saying words. What's a word that you love to say but never feel like gets enough opportunity to use? And you don't have as much love for saying words as I do.
See, I don't have, you have a love of saying words, like how they sound, like how they feel coming out of your mouth. Like, that seems to be where you go with it. But I also really love words. I don't get to use surreptitious enough. I don't get to use superfluous enough. I don't get to use penultimate enough.
Pretension.
Exactly. That's why I don't get to use them enough, because I know how they sound when I do, but I really like those words. I really like the words requiem and elegy. Like, I don't get to use those enough. I really like words.
I like Constantinople. It's really unfortunate that it's Istanbul. I really wish they would go back to Constantinople. Yes, that was a They Might Be Giants joke.
I was gonna try to elaborate on that, but
I do like Constantinople. I like crisp. I feel like crisp is a good word.
Crisp is a crisp word. Like, it just feels crisp.
I also like saying Buca de Beppo. It has no real. I just like saying Buca de Beppo. It's just fun to say, like, it just rolls off the tongue, and I don't get to use it enough. I feel like there's a bunch of words, but I also will be the type of person that will use words to practice them, sort of thing. I'm also a big fan of conjugating. I typically will conjugate words even though I'm not 100% sure on if they're conjugatable. See, I don't even know if that's a word.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah.
Trifecta. There's not enough opportunities for the word trifecta.
Triumphant is also a good word. You only get to use that whenever you're talking about, like, the triumvirate of, like, Julius Caesar and all them. I can't remember the rest of them at the moment. You're ruining this podcast, Julianna.
That's what I do.
But yeah. I like crisp, Constantinople. Those are good ones. I don't have a problem with moist. I don't understand people who have a problem with moist.
I don't get that one either.
Like, get over it. It's word. It's fine. Like, I will use moist just to piss people off because
Yeah.
I think it's the dumbest thing ever.
I mean, like there are words that like I actively really hate and like I will cringe if I hear them, but like there's reasons for it. I don't understand moist.
Yep. I don't like turd. I don't like the word turd. I just
I don't like
the
that one either.
I don't like the phonetic sound of it. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell people not to use it. Like, because people who don't like moist are Nazis about it. Because they get, like, they expect everyone else to, like, bow to their whim and not use moist. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
They're dicks about it. So, like, that's the reason why whenever someone's like, do not say that word. I hate that word. I will immediately find an opportunity to say moist because you don't you dare tell me what word not to say, especially when it's for a dumb fucking reason. Like, I don't care. I'm sorry. I will get up on a soapbox about people who don't like the word moist. And if you don't like moist, I'm going to just keep saying moist. Moist, 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 moist. And now I just sound like a 1920s New Yorker by saying moist over and over again. But no, it's like the dumbest thing in the world. I hate it. And I said dumbest, not stupidest, because stupidest is not a fucking word. Because that also bothers me, too, when people say stupidest. I'm like, you're criticizing something and you're not using the right word.
See, that's one of those kinds of things that I've had to try to learn to let go over time. Like, there's a lot of words that aren't words that get commonly used as though they are. And I mean, some of them do still, like, make my skin crawl, but, like, I hear them so much now that it's just like, what can you...
Julianna, you're going to be very disappointed right now. This is just for us, not the listeners. But you're missing Stella licking the tip of her tail.
Oh, kitty.
Yes. That's for everyone at home, too. You can just... You're listening to that and you can just imagine Stella, like, licking the tip of her tail. Like, grabbing her tail with her paws and licking it.
Oh my god, that's so cute. She's
Yes.
Aw, kitty.
All right. So, that wraps up all of Nick Geiger's questions. So, as I said... Garrett, your question's the headliner of this episode. So, I don't know how much you're going to be able to contribute, Jules, so this one might be just me. Garrett's question is, how are you preparing for the long-awaited screen versions of American Gods and The Dark Tower?
Yeah, I'm very excited about American Gods, but this question is for you. Yeah.
I was going to say, I've done enough talking about American Gods that I think I've gotten Julianna excited.
I know, I am excited, and I mean, I've consumed part of the book, and I very, very much enjoyed it. It's just one of those things where it's like, the recording that you have is far easier for me to listen to than pretty much any other audiobook in the history of existence.
Because it's a full cast recording.
Yeah, so like it doesn't really feel like I'm listening. Like I can't do audiobooks. Like I just can't. My brain doesn't do that. But like then, because of, you know, long-standing issues that have been talked about many times across multiple podcasts, I do have phases that typically go on for very long periods of time, and I'm currently in one where it's very, very hard for me to actually read a book. Like my brain just can't concentrate on the words, and I just can't. I just cannot do it. So I haven't finished American Gods in any capacity, but like I did really enjoy what I have consumed of it, and I am very much looking forward to the show, and I mean even possibly like that finally kicking my ass in gear to finish the book. But still, this question is for you.
Yeah. I'm getting myself mentally ready. I'm probably, whenever they announce it, I'll probably re-listen to the book again. Because I've actually technically never read American Gods. I've only listened to it like 3 times. But I still know the story very well. I want to do a niche podcast for American Gods when the show comes out. Mainly because I've listened to the competition and I know I can do better probably by myself. Yeah, that's right. What? So I would like to do it. I want to do an American Gods show like real bad. I just wanted to wait. I want to do an American Gods podcast real bad because I want to wait till they announce it, because one of the problems that the other American Gods podcast, which is called the American Gods podcast, is having, is that they're stalling, because I think at this point they thought that they were going to have some sort of an announcement about when it was going to come out. So now they're running out of shit to talk about weekly.
Oh.
So I wanted to wait because I wanted to do, like, my idea is once they announce the date, I can figure out how many weeks out we can start the podcast, give a background, give what we talk about and all that kind of stuff. So like I'm waiting with anticipation for it. High anticipation, but like once they announce it, I'll probably re-listen to to it right now. Right now, I'm in the middle of the Harry Potter sexology. I only got one book left, and then I think I'm going to listen to them all back to back and just plow through them. Because I could probably get through. I can get through like the first 3 books in a week, probably listening to them. So but like once they announce that, I'll probably do that. I'm still looking for, hey, if you're out there, I'm still looking for co-hosts to do the American Gods podcast. I already have a great title, which is The Gods Are Waiting, which I think is a fantastic title. But in general, I actually do want to do more. I want to do niche podcasting like very badly. I want to do a Star Wars podcast real bad.
I mean, I do have so much fun doing Black Emporium.
Yeah.
So I love doing Scenario Store, but that's a whole different like kind of fun, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I would want to do it with Joe, but once a week is probably about, on average, is probably all we're going to be able to get together. So I don't want to push that one. I like having the once a week with insert movie reference. We talk about Star Wars a lot on that podcast anyways. I would like to have just a straight up podcast about Star Wars just because I talk about it enough and all that kind of stuff. And there have been so many episodes where that we've talked about Star Wars a lot. To the point where I'm like, is this really a movie podcast or a Star Wars podcast? Dark Tower, I'm not really doing anything because I'm not a huge Stephen King fan. Not that I dislike Stephen King, I just never got into Stephen King, so I don't really have a positive or negative opinion of him. My only opinion of him is that he did a lot of coke in the 80s, and it shows. that's not really an opinion. It's more of a fact.
I really liked him on Sons of Anarchy.
But yeah, no, he did a lot of cocaine. I guess the only thing that I could say that his opinion is that it showed. There might be someone out there that would disagree that you can't. They watch Maximum Overdrive and not think, oh man, that guy did a lot of cocaine. But I don't know how you can watch that movie and not go, this guy did a lot of cocaine. There's so many things about it. Maximum Overdrive is about the cars coming alive and trying to kill people.
Okay.
Yeah. That it has something to do with a comet, but might not have to do with a comet.
Okay.
And the entire soundtrack is AC/DC.
Okay.
So tell me that does not sound like someone who's doing a shit ton of cocaine.
I don't know.
So, I'm interested to see it. They've been trying to make Dark Tower for like 20 years. So I really don't have too much of an opinion. I like Idris Elba in general. I don't know if he's a good choice for the character or not because I'm not super familiar with the character, but I'm sure he'll do a fine job. Yeah. I think I would rather see what's his name?
I can usually pronounce this. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd rather see him. But I think I just rather see him in most things. Nothing against Idris Elba, I just like him more. I like his delivery and I like his demeanor more. That's all. Yeah, any opinion? Jules?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I like them
was
both.
about Chiwetel. I was saying, yeah.
I like them both.
Yeah, I do too. Well, I do too. I think it might just be my brown coat showing because he was, his first movie was, I don't think it was his first acting role, but his first movie was Serenity. So, but that's just my opinion. He might be too busy with Black Panther.
Right.
But yeah. So, there you go. There you go, Garrett. I don't know how well I have explained that, but I will find ways to get ready for American Gods whenever they actually announce the date. I've been waiting with bated breath. I felt like we would have known by now. I felt like they were going to announce the date around Christmas. What I really hope they end up doing is the first season is part 1 of the book, the second season is part 2, and then they finish up with the third season of part 3. So, but yeah, I mean, I've talked on this podcast a lot about my feelings on it. Ian McShane's fantastic as Mr. Wednesday. So, again, the guy they got to play Shadow, I wish was a little bulkier. That's it. But, hey, win some, you lose some. I'm sure he'll do a fine job. Ian McShane said he's doing a fine job whenever he was on the Nerdist. So, but there you go, everyone. That is this month's Q&A episode, and we were able to pull that one out, Jules. We did over an hour.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
How about that?
So yay, go us. Next week, which will only be 2 days for Jules and I, we will be doing January's pop analysis, and for Julianna's birthday, we are doing the fantasy classic Labyrinth, starring David Bowie and David Bowie's crotch.
Where is the lie?
Yeah. So you can tune in for that. That should be a stacked room. I think we'll have at least 4 people, because I'm pretty sure Megan will be there. Justin's supposed to be there. And Miss Morgan is going to make her triumphant return to the podcast as well. So, yeah, that one should be fun. Be on the lookout. That one will be called Dance Magic Dance. Very easy title to pick up on. So that will be next week's episode. And again, if you want to contribute anytime, you can email us, or questions at any time, you can email us at ask@sinisterdream.com. So on that note, I am Nick Kizina. You can follow me on Instagram at SinisterDreamist with no E in Sinister.
I'm Julianna Hawk, becauseanders.tumblr.com.
May the Force be with you, always. See you next week.
Thank you, and may the Force be with you.
You have been listening to the Sinister DreamCast Network. For more from Sinister Dream Productions, check out www.sinisterdream.com.